production of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
Welcome to Duck Insider.
Man, it feels great to be a Duck.
Give it to me, baby. My house. I'm taking it there.
Their competitors, they'll want to put the O on.
Three, got it!
We're going to compete to a standard every day.
The Oregon standard.
Rebound. Up and in. 1 point more to go.
The opportunity to play, put Oregon on your chest, should mean a great deal to you.
Unloads on one into left field, back toward the wall. Gone!
This program is staged to compete and to win championships.
Oregon wins!
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, let's talk Oregon athletics.
1-1 to Davis. Popped up in the air. Toward left field. Betcher under it. Betcher makes the catch! The Ducks are Pac-12 champions! 5-4 the final. Davis flies out. Oregon gets the automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. Oh, that was fun. Pac-12 baseball tournament champion, Oregon baseball. Congratulations to Mark Wazakowski and the Ducks. The hat is great. The shirt is phenomenal. There's just nothing like seeing a dog pile of ducks, dare I say a duck pile in Scottsdale. That's the first ever Pac-12 championship for Duck baseball, regular season or tournament. It's in the second ever tournament that the Pac-12 has ever had. Congratulations to the Ducks. Tremendous accomplishment. And we're going to go through and review that tournament and what it means for Oregon now heading to the NCAA tournament in the regional round. I'm Joey Mack. Thanks for joining us. We've also got H.J. Cohn with us today. The Ducks Senior Associate Athletic Director, a lot to cover, including Oregon men's golf, who he traveled with, also competing in Scottsdale. The Ducks made it to the national championship. They're not advancing, though, in the national championship. We'll have a season review for those guys. Also, Oregon softball, just a great season that unfortunately came to a close in Oklahoma. Ryan Milano was there. He's directing the show for us today. He had the call on KWVA. We've got a recap of that for you. And then also Ryan will do a more in-depth recap of softball season tomorrow on the program because we've got a lot to cover today. And Ryan's going to be hosting tomorrow because I will be on the way to Nashville with Oregon baseball because the Ducks are headed to the regionals in Nashville. Hosted by Vanderbilt, the Ducks are in the Nashville Regional and will play a team that Oregon is familiar with in Xavier on Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. That means a 9:45 a.m. Pacific time broadcast for us here on the Oregon Sports Network. Now, should the Ducks advance, they would play the winner of Vanderbilt and Eastern Illinois. That would be on Saturday. So keep in tune to the Go Ducks schedule. Also, the Oregon Sports Network Twitter will have you covered. But we know 10 a.m. against Xavier on Friday. It's on ESPN+. And I will, of course, have the call on the Oregon Sports Network with a 9:45 a.m. pregame show. Now, Xavier is a team that Oregon did play earlier this year. In fact, it went really well for the Ducks earlier this year. Xavier was the opening series for Oregon baseball. The Ducks won 3-2 in the Friday game, 9-2 in 7 innings in the Saturday contest, the first of 2 on Saturday, 5-3 in the second game of the doubleheader, and then the Sunday game, the Ducks won 3-1. So if you're Xavier, you're probably sitting here on Musketeer Insider going, hey, it's time for some revenge with Oregon. The Ducks on Duck Insider, we're saying here, well, Oregon's already had success against this Xavier team, and so, you know, a common opponent. I will be honest, I don't love that it's an opponent that Oregon has played before, like especially this season. That's not usually how the regionals work, but it is what it is. So Oregon, though, got off to a great start this season against a Xavier team, and I want everybody to remember something. Mark Wazakowski, on the very first Toyota Coaches Corner that I did with him this year, he said, you know, Xavier's a good RPI team. They probably will win their league. They will probably be one of the best teams in that conference. Mark Wazakowski, you nailed that one, buddy. And so the Ducks are playing Xavier for the 5th time this year to open the regionals in Nashville. Vanderbilt, the host team, is the number 6 overall seed. And again, them and Eastern Illinois will play later in the day on Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific time, noon local time in Nashville. I'm pretty good at remembering the East Coast adjustment. I'm okay at remembering the Mountain Time adjustment. I am awful at remembering the Central Time adjustment. So please bear with me if I say the wrong local time over the next few days. I'm going to. I just try to keep everything in Pacific time, but that's difficult when, we have to get to the ballpark at a certain time. In any case, congratulations to the Ducks. Oregon also was in the Nashville Regional at Vanderbilt in 2014. Mark Wasikowski was an assistant coach. And it's a game that we often reference, actually, in Oregon baseball history when the Ducks played Vanderbilt because Steven Nagosic, now a big leaguer with the Mets, pitched against Walker Buehler, now a big leaguer with the Dodgers. And Nogo actually was beating him. Nogo started the game and went 7, gave it to the bullpen, and it was ultimately Oregon's excellent bullpen that year that lost the game to Vanderbilt. Walker Buehler went a complete game against the Ducks in that contest. It was one of the better baseball games that we've seen in postseason play. And I have definitive memories of that game because I was in Oklahoma City with Oregon softball calling the Women's College World Series while Jerry Allen had the call for that game at Vanderbilt. That was my first year assisting with Oregon baseball on the Oregon Sports Network when the Ducks were there. So it's a little bit of a come full circle moment for me personally because all I heard was that Vanderbilt was a great place to play, and it's one of the best games that the Ducks have ever had in postseason, even though it didn't go their way. Also today, this is just being announced at 1 o'clock, the Oregon Athletics Hall of Fame class. We will cover it in more detail tomorrow. I'll leave this on Ryan's desk for tomorrow. But congratulations are in order for the 32nd Oregon Athletics Hall of Fame class. Elena Bergsma from Oregon Volleyball, English Gardner, a 5-time NCAA champion for Oregon track and field, Jordan Hesse, one of the more decorated athletes actually in all of Oregon athletic history, LaMichael James, Oregon football, Jess Moore, a dominant pitcher for Oregon softball, and Bruce Mortensen, the 1964 NCAA champion in the steeplechase. That is the 32nd Oregon Athletics Hall of Fame class. There will be the induction ceremony in the fall, that class being announced today by Oregon Athletics. Congratulations to those Ducks. Let's hear from Mark Wasikowski. What the Oregon baseball head coach think of the Pac-12 championship, which we will review, and also getting a chance to head to Nashville. The regional is up next for the Ducks, who are, I should have said earlier, the 2 seed in that regional, hosted by Vanderbilt. Mark Wasikowski, the Oregon baseball head coach, brought to you by the Willamette Valley Cancer Institute and Research Center.
You guys were announced kind of late in the field, but obviously you knew you were going to be in. So what was it like kind of waiting that out just to see where you were, knowing that you were going to see your name?
Well, that's the key is knowing that you're going to see your name, right? And so in order to do that, we needed to win the Pac-12 tournament. And, there's some others that I think probably rightfully so are probably pretty pissed off today. And, the only way you can avoid that is by handling your business to the best of your ability on the field. And specifically for us, that meant Pac-12 tournament champions, which we were able to pull off, which is great.
I guess just your initial impressions of the bracket heading to Vanderbilt, seeing Xavier again here in the 2-3 matchup.
It doesn't matter where you go. Every team that gets in is good. And so, the team that plays the best is going to win it. And so, we've got some familiarity. We also feel as though the people that have been here before, we probably have something, in terms of an opportunity to go back to Vanderbilt and play potentially, you never know, but potentially play against Vanderbilt. There's probably a lot of that feeling of excitement from specifically our coaching staff because we were there and lost a tough one to Vanderbilt a few years ago, and we remember that like it was yesterday.
Well, I realize this bracketing principles to avoid certain things. They can't necessarily, I suppose, make it impossible to have a rematch in an opening game, but when you did play a team 4 times, what is your thoughts on that? That you play a whole season, you're playing a team that you played 4 times already? And they are too, for that matter.
Yeah, they are too. I don't know. I mean, I don't know why certain teams get put in certain places and all that kind of stuff. I don't even really know how to speculate on that.
Obviously, a tremendous accomplishment this past weekend. How do you want your guys mentally kind of balancing, being happy with that, but then kind of refocusing with more on the table now?
Well, I mean, I told them to enjoy winning a championship for sure, and I think they did that. I'm pretty confident that they enjoyed that pretty well. And now it's just, back to the day, and it's about today and improving today and getting better today. And the best thing they can do today with our travel yesterday is rest, get in and see the treatment folks and, do the things that they need to do to help get them prepared for the regional this weekend.
Obviously, Jace made the trip. Any updates on his status?
No, and we'll learn more about that later today.
Isaac?
No, and we'll learn more about Isaac later today. I'm not sure about either one of them right now.
What has your experience told you just kind of the biggest keys to getting through a regional?
Playing well. Just as simple as it gets, playing well. The team that plays the best wins.
It's been 24 hours, 36 hours since you guys have won the Pac-12 championship. Just what are the emotions now like for you? Kind of have time to reflect on it after the day of travel yesterday.
It was probably a little bit stronger emotionally yesterday than it might have even been on the field the night we won it. And then today, it's really on to what's in front of us. And so emotions yesterday was exciting. Tons of pats on the back. Traveling and all that kind of stuff. That was a lot of fun. But, today, not really about the conference tournament. That seems like it was a long time ago now. And now it's just the excitement about getting prepared for what we have ahead.
You were asked on the TV broadcast after the game about starting Turner. It just seemed really outside the box there. But how do you rationalize that considering what he'd done? And I'd just like to hear that again.
Turner's, he's been really good for us, and I was asked why and all that kind of stuff, and I didn't want to get into some specifics of that, but we felt like it was the right thing to do. It ended up being a good decision, which not all our decisions are good decisions, if we know that. But it turned out to be a great decision. I was really happy for the development that Coach Angier's invested into Turner, and that kid's a real winner. He comes from a lineage of, with his dad, Paul. He's not scared. He's not going to be scared. He's been brought up in a household that's tough, and they expect to win and they expect to compete. And so it's one reason why we wanted him here at Oregon to start with. And to have a guy like Paul as your dad, I got to imagine that kid just laying around the house and laying around a big league locker room probably absorbed a lot more than 99% of us.
What can you say about how the bullpen really stepped up this week, especially Grinsell and Mercado?
Unbelievable. Yeah, unbelievable. They pitched the lights out of it. And so, we're in order for us to get through this tournament, hopefully all the way through the end of the College World Series, obviously pitching is a big deal. And so we're going to need them to continue to improve.
Expect Logan to go back to the starting role?
I don't have any idea yet. I'll talk with Coach Angier. We haven't met on it.
You talked about how you want to tell your team to push last weekend behind you and continue to look moving forward. What's your message to your team? Was that was talked about afterwards?
Well, I kind of just reminded them, reflected a little bit on the past, because our message had been, don't listen to the fine people out there that tell you you're either in or you're out or whatever. Don't listen to anybody. Just do what you can control. And what we can control was playing like every single day our backs are against the wall, and that you needed to win. Every day was a must-win game, and we had a lot of people telling us after maybe the Utah series or maybe after the first or second win in the Pac-12 tournament that you're good, you're in, you're fine, and yet we see really good teams like Arizona State and USC left out. And I reminded the team that, maybe one win or two wins or three wins, or I hate to say it, but maybe even losing the final game of the Pac-12 tournament. Well, what if all of a sudden we were left out? How would you feel about that? Because there's a lot of really good baseball players right now in our awesome conference that are not going to a regional and probably pissed. And that could easily have been us if we didn't handle our business right. And the way we did it is by having a back against the wall mentality and playing it that way. And I reminded the guys of that, to where they'd take that same mentality into the next round.
How surprised were you that USC and ASU didn't get in, especially considering you played both of those guys this year?
Well, like I told the team this whole time, I'm not going to be surprised if anybody gets the short end of the stick. People do every year, and I think not surprised is clearly the thing I'd say, and disappointed that they're not getting in. Yeah, because I'm an advocate of the Pac-12. I believe in this conference. When you total up the national championships in this league, and then you total up the national championships in all the other leagues combined, the Pac-12 has more than all the other leagues combined, and so for the Pac-12 to get slighted disappoints me. But I also recognize the committee has a very tough job on their hands, and I'm not in those rooms to hear those arguments. So I know that the committee did a fantastic job, like they always do, and working through all the data and figuring out who's in. And unfortunately, the who's out part of it stings the most for today, specifically 4 West Coast teams that I know, at least 4 West Coast teams that I know really wanted to be in.
Going to practice with the artificial whistler effect for the next few days?
No, I'm not going to get caught up in that kind of stuff. No.
I really liked what Waz said about the West Coast. I mean, look, there is something to unpack there. I will do it tastefully next. Also, Oregon softball and H.J. Cohn's going to join us. Got a lot more to cover on Duck Insider. Back after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey Duck fans, we're all about protecting our home turf here in Eugene. You should do the same for your home with Country Financial Insurance. Most home insurance doesn't account for inflation, but with Country Financial, yours can. If something happens to your home, make sure you can rebuild the same house in the same place. Call a local representative or 866-COUNTRY and get a solid defense for your home. Home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Casualty Insurance Company, or Country Preferred Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois. Property must meet age and condition requirements, which vary by state.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, OnPoint proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. OnPoint Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCAA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Don't go anywhere. Duck Insider continues after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
To protect his home and family from disaster, Steve used courage, wisdom, and his camera phone.
That should do it.
Way to go, Steve! By simply taking digital pictures of his family's important documents, Steve can always have them stored safely online, no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
We're back on Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Joey Mack in the Country Financial Studios. So there's going to be a ton of conversation around the greater baseball tournament, I think, about how the committee evaluates teams and if we're going to use the RPI, et cetera, et cetera. Auburn Athletic Director John Cohen is the chair of the Baseball Selection Committee. And he even said on the ESPN broadcast yesterday on the selection show that maybe there needs to be some adjustments. Well, we've been saying, we, meaning the royal we of the West Coast and me of Oregon, that the RPI does not really work on the West Coast because you don't have as many common opponents. The formula just doesn't quite work out. Case in point, you're telling me that Stanford and Oregon are the only two teams in the top 32 of the RPI from the West Coast. You're telling me that Stanford and Oregon are the only two teams from the West Coast that are two of the top 32 teams in college baseball? I don't buy that. I don't think that's just West Coast bias. I think that's just a fact. That's my opinion. So I'm curious how things go in this tournament and what happens with that maybe moving forward. Now, all that being said, Mark Wasikowski was pretty clear to the team after the game on Saturday, and he was very clear to the team actually after the selection show yesterday. He said, hey, the only way that we knew we were winning the Pac-12 tournament. And the Ducks did that really in some dramatic fashion. So the Cal game, it was a total postseason example of you just find a way to win. The pitching was excellent from top to bottom. The tying run scored on an error and a base running mistake, actually, by the Ducks. Yeah, Bryce Betcher didn't run on contact from third. It led to Tanner Smith running to third. Then Betcher hesitated. He went home. He scored. It led to the sacrifice fly from Jacob Walsh that gave the Ducks lead. So it's like, okay, still some things to improve on, but the Ducks found a way to win. That's what you have to do in postseason play. Ducks don't win that game, the Ducks may not advance in the Pac-12 tournament. In fact, they wouldn't have advanced in the Pac-12 tournament with the way the tiebreakers worked. So then Stanford, a team that Oregon has won the series against each of the last 2 years. They were the regular season league champs. The Ducks got down 6-2 early in the game. It was a huge comeback. They chipped away, were down by 2, headed to the 9th. One of Bennett Thompson's 4 hits started the rally. His pinch runner ultimately scored. Then with 2 outs, no one on in the 9th inning. I mean, so it's 6-5. There's 2 outs, nobody's on. If you're a Stanford fan, you're like, Cardinal have got this locked up. In fact, the Cardinal have not lost a game all year when leading after the 6th inning. Colby Shade. Panthers pitch. Shade hits one in the air to right. Montgomery giving chase. He's not going to get there. Bounces to the wall. Shade from second, rounding, going to third. The throw is high. It goes into the dugout and out of play. The Ducks tie the game. Colby Shade hits it to right. Ball thrown high to third. Oregon with life in the 9th. Tied at 6. Just how the Ducks drew it up, right? I mean, but see, seriously, you put the ball in play, good things happen. Put pressure on the defense, force that high relay throw. I mean, that's what you have to do in the postseason. And my point with all of this is when Oregon had lost 8 of 9, no Jay Stoffel the last few weeks. We all know that. When Oregon had lost 8 of 9, it was like, man, on the skids, got to find some momentum. Well, I think now the Ducks have realized they can win a lot of games without their ace in Jay Stoffel. They can win series without Jay Stoffel. The pitching has stepped up in a lot of different ways, and the offense has just kept the pressure on. The offense has kept doing what the offense has done really all season long. Case in point, this is the first extra inning game that Oregon has played all year. Sabine Ceballos is up. Sabine Ceballos also missed a few games when the Ducks were on that 8 of 9 losing skid. Nice to have him back in the lineup, particularly in the 10th inning. 3-1, Ceballos hits one in the air toward left center at the wall. Sabine Ceballos! 14th home run of the year. The Ducks take the lead. Seven to 6 Oregon in the 10th. Ducks added another, and the long ball for the Ducks continues to be a defining characteristic of this offense. Sabine Ceballos, huge deal. Malera shut the door in the 10th. He ended up going almost 3 innings of work out of the pen, and here's another postseason point. You get those big plays, the pitching just find a way, figure it out. The Ducks did that. Then in the semis against Washington, the Ducks got out to an early 6-0 lead, and it felt like the revenge game that Oregon wanted after Washington scored double-digit runs on the Ducks in all 3 games, and Oregon got swept. That was part of that 8 of 9 skid. Well, this was different. The Huskies fought back to make it 6-5. Oregon answered with a 5 spot of its own. Then the Ducks, really, I thought, answered every punch that Washington threw to win 12-7. Sabine Ceballos had 6 RBIs, which is ridiculous. At one point, the Huskies had some momentum. Then Colby Shade threw to second after a sacrifice fly that allowed a runner to score, and that retired a runner trying to advance, and it ended the inning. You don't see the DP 8-4 sac fly in your scorebook very often, but stuff like that matters, right? The Ducks made the right play throwing to second there. Shade with a dart. Got out of the inning, ended the momentum even though Washington scored a run. That's what you do in the postseason. Drew Smith also got a hit in this game, which was his 18th consecutive game with a hit. That matched the program record at the time. And I think the Ducks felt pretty good. They beat the Huskies. And then the championship game against a red-hot Arizona team. Thought it might be high scoring. In fact, I said that on the air. It might be a high-scoring game. 2 of the higher-powered offenses in the conference. It was a pitcher's duel. Just like we thought it would be. Yeah. Turner Spoljaric was excellent in his start, which is now 2 of the last 3 starts where Spoljaric's been really good. It was tough against Stanford. Stanford was hitting him in the first inning. Well, Mark Wasikowski said afterwards that the Cardinal had his pitches picked. He was the reigning Pac-12 pitcher of the week after his 7-inning performance against Utah. Well, when you know what's coming, it changes things offensively if you're in the batter's box, right? So that's now, though, after he looked much more like his Utah start. That's really twice consecutively where Turner Spoljarich's been excellent. Drew Smith hit safely again, now riding a 19-straight game hitting streak. That's a program record. He broke Spencer Steer's record, who's a big leaguer with the Reds now. Ducks and Wildcats were tied at 3 heading to the bottom of the 6th inning after that great start from Spoljarich. Jacob Walsh, he stepped up when the Ducks needed him to in the championship game. Tied at 3 here in the 6th. Walsh hits one a ton toward right center. Jacob Walsh gives the Ducks the lead. 4-3 Oregon in the bottom of the 6th on Jacob Walsh's 14th of the year. He got a hold of one. Oregon answers. Back in front 4-3. Ducks added another in the 7th to make it 5-3, and Jacob Walsh now 14 home runs. Sabine Ceballos 14 home runs. All these guys are approaching the program record of 17 home runs in a single season. Kenyon Yovan hit 17 a few years ago. In the postseason, we might see that record fall too. Arizona hit a solo shot in the 8th to make it 5-4, and then Matt Dallas got the conference leader in home runs to fly out with a runner at first to end the game. And this was cool. I want to give some context for this. Matt Dallas came in and got roughed up a little bit because Arizona was good in Tucson. He got roughed up by the Wildcats a little bit. Well, I thought this was huge. And again, the pitching staff, you just find a way, don't you? 1-1 to Davis. Popped up in the air toward left field. Betcher under it. Betcher makes the catch. The Ducks are Pac-12 champions. 5-4 the final. Davis flies out. Oregon gets the automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. Huge. Congratulations to the Ducks. This is awesome. Now heading, of course, to a very, very important regional in Nashville. I think getting a regional win would mean an awful lot. And how do they do it? Don't know about Jay Stoffel. Don't know about Isaac Ayon. You heard Mark Wasikowski say that. But in the tournament, Oregon's bullpen was outstanding. 24 1/3 innings pitched by the Duck bullpen. They allowed 3 runs. Wow. And the All-Pac-12 tournament team featured Bennett Thompson, who was on a streak at one point of going 12 for 15. I think Thompson has settled in here in the postseason as Oregon's starting catcher. Grayson Grinsell got his first career start, was excellent for the most part in the Pac-12 tournament on the all-tournament team. Colby Shade on the all-tournament team with the way that he performed, and Sabine Ceballos, who was just wreaking havoc in terms of RBIs. Congratulations to the Ducks. An outstanding performance in the Pac-12 tournament. And now facing a Xavier team that they're familiar with, but certainly Oregon is different now than Xavier was. For example, Sabine Ceballos was not starting. Now Sabine Ceballos and Drew Cowley have both broken the program record for RBIs in a single season. Whoever is going to end up leading in that RBI category it's going to be a single season record. Maybe they'll end up tied. Who knows? The point that I'm making, though, is I think that Oregon found a little magic with that postseason. It's not, yes, the Ducks are still searching for somebody who can be that ace starter without Jay Stoffel the last month. Maybe they found it in Turner Spoljaric. Yeah, the Ducks are still searching for ways to improve, but find a way to win in these postseason games, and that's exactly what the Ducks did. Congratulations to Mark Wasikowski's Ducks. We're going to talk a little softball, a little golf when we come back. Also, H.J. Cohn is here. It is Athletic Director Tuesday, after all. That's next. Stick with us on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Summer's here, and with a new Toyota, you can go out and make memories that make summer, summer. Like catching a road game in a RAV4. I got it.
Toyota, let's go places. Participating dealers only. Event ends May 31st. Dealer inventory may vary. At Shadow Hills Country Club, we're more than just an award-winning golf course and practice facility. Our events team offers all-inclusive event pricing that allows us to take care of all the details while you enjoy your event. Our indoor and outdoor venues offer you a wide variety of fully staffed options that put the focus on you. From weddings to business and social events, at Shadow Hills Country Club Events Center, you get the benefits of a resort atmosphere and amenities in a peaceful country setting, just minutes from downtown Eugene. Call for a tour today or visit shadowhillsevents.com.
Summer's here, and with a new Toyota, you can go out and make memories that make summer, summer. Like catching a road game in a RAV4. I got it!
Toyota, let's go places. Participating dealers only. Event ends May 31st. Dealer inventory may vary.
Duck Insider continues after this timeout on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Chris Jakimick, I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. Being a veteran, it's interwoven into your DNA. It is really the absence of the connection and the purpose that can really drive a lot of veterans to some negative thoughts. For those who are in a suicidal crisis, the window of time to save somebody's life is very short. Our duty is to protect ourselves and protect our families. And one way you can do that is store your weapons safely. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you prevent wildfires.
Dude, I've got this. I've been camping since I was 5 years old.
But I am a camping influencer.
You know what? I'll bet you $5. Assistant Smokey, what is the best way to put out a campfire?
To put out a campfire, drown with water, stir, drown again. Then make sure the fire is out cold by feeling with the back of your hand.
Wait, really?
I'll take the $5.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
We're back on Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Joey Mack with you in the Country Financial Studio. It's Athletic Director Tuesday. Senior Associate Athletic Director H.J. Cohn.
What's up, baby?
Hey, you look like you got some sun out there in Arizona.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, Michigan was a little humid, and kind of that sneaky sun, if you will. It was kind of that overcast, but
did you get more sunburn there than you did in Arizona?
I actually did, because I was not expecting it and didn't put on sunscreen. But in Arizona, you kind of have to right after you leave the hotel. You better layer up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It was toasty, man. Those conditions are real.
Men's golf.
Clearly, our golf team realized that too. But
yeah, no doubt. We were talking about men's golf actually before you came and sat down. A lot to cover today.
Yeah.
And so I'll start there maybe. Men's golf. You were traveling with them. You're the sport administrator for the men's golf team. Getting to the national championship, but you can never take that for granted. That's a big deal.
Yeah. No, you really can't. I mean, when you talk about, he'll remain nameless. He's follows the golf program historically for a number of years. And Casey, I want to say, has made the NCAA's 11 out of 17 years, which is pretty phenomenal from leading a program, especially when you factor in the changes he's probably seen in college athletics or gone through. I remember it's got to have been 10 years ago. I just remember him. We were talking on the way we were driving up to Salem for something, and I wasn't involved with men's golf as much as I am today. But he just referenced recruiting and how much it's changed, even for his sport. And the golf, men's and women's, has become such a worldwide game that is coming into play into the collegiate level. And you go look at the collegiate rosters, especially the competitive ones, at least that we just came from, being down in Arizona NCAAs, and you'll see a lot of those rosters are international student athletes, including ours.
Yeah.
And so when you factor in recruiting and the likes of Nils, with European tennis, he goes through it as well.
Cool.
It's very interesting to see an approach on recruiting, and Casey and I had a chance to sit down while in Arizona before one of our matches and just talked about what plans are. And we obviously, but Casey, we're very lucky to have someone that is so well known and renowned and respected in the golf world that he has a lot of people reaching out to him for potential Oregon student athletes saying, you should take this kid, trust me. And he's got these relationships, which has been very helpful in a lot of cases. But at the same time, when you're a coach, you really want to see a kid multiple times, regardless of the sport, not necessarily to only pick up on their athleticism, but also the intangibles, right? How are they, with teammates and men's golf isn't necessarily the best example of that, but how are they responding to coaches, rules officials, hitting a bad shot in that case? How do they respond? And you only get to see that if you're there in person. Yeah. So, when it comes down to making the NCAAs 11 out of his 17 years, again, I believe that's correct, is pretty fascinating. When you get sent to a regional, you just never know what can happen. We ultimately got sent to Bath, Michigan, which is directly next to East Lansing. Michigan State's the host.
One of the best town names ever.
Yeah, I can't say I'd ever been nor heard of it prior to that, but touched it all there. We got it all covered. But you go there and you're a 4 seed in Oregon's case, and we're right, hovering in the top 25 a good chunk of the year. And you're a 4 seed in Michigan State. It's their home course, and they're a 10 seed.
Right.
That always becomes, psychologically in advance. You're thinking about those types of things. Well, what if, Michigan State playing their home course, if they're a 10 seed, what are they truly? Are they close to a 6 seed, a 5 seed? What are they? And you only got 5 spots. So you start going through those, and anything can happen.
It's like the home field advantage in any other sport.
No,
right?
it probably would be, I would argue, more, because the home field advantage is normally the atmosphere, right? The fans. Baseball, a fence is a fence.
Right.
Basketball, a hoop is 10 feet off. The free throw line's the same distance and whatnot. In golf, when
totally
the course changes every day, pin placements, conditions, when you play that, you certainly have an advantage. There's not a crowd advantage. I mean, there can be to an extent, but those guys and gals are pretty stoic when they're standing over a putt, unlike you and I shaking. But
that's right.
Again, when you go into a regional, wherever you go, conditions, travel time, and whatnot comes into play. So to get out of regionals and then to head to NCAAs for the top final 30 teams in the country and competing was great. Obviously, we'd hope to make the 15 team cut.
I hope to not talk to you today.
Yeah, I know. When we scheduled this, I was gone. But that's why you compete, and that's why you try and figure out how you get better. And for us, we have our whole, at least the travel squad. I don't want to speak on behalf of the whole team, but the 6 guys that went to the NCAAs, one of which, being an alternate, actually played, which is ironic. That never happens, and it happened in our case due to an injury of one of our student athletes. All 6 of those kids are coming back next year.
Right.
And I think that's something that they will pull from and grow on as they go into this summer and try to get better and come back in the fall.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. We were talking in the first segment about getting there, and the entire lineup is back next year. And I was actually talking with Coach Martin. You're to your point about recruiting. We had him on a couple weeks ago, and Coach Martin was talking about how he's going to really have to hit recruiting hard because it is going to be a veteran roster next year, and so there will be some turnover. It's just amazing to me how you have to always be thinking about that as a coach, right? Like, it's exciting to have everybody back next year, and then the other side of that is you're always looking toward the future and building. That's cool. H.J. Cohn joining us. I have a confession to make, all right? I was going to make you zoom in from the course just for like 2 minutes. If the Ducks were playing today, I was like, no, H, I've got a Zoom link. Please. Like, how cool would that have been?
That would have been cool. You probably wouldn't have seen me on the course because I would not want the glare from any fans, rules officials, or coaches saying, it must be a really important call, right? Well, it is. Don't get me wrong, Joey, but I would have gotten in trouble. But I would have been at the clubhouse
I've been to Greyhawk, though. It's not far to get to where you could sit at a table in some shade.
That's right,
and,
yeah. No, I would have felt like a big deal in the clubhouse.
That would have been awesome.
Like, hey, quiet down over there.
But instead, we're stuck with him here in person.
You know I'm talking to the Joey Mack.
Do you know that you are the H.J. Cohn? Yeah. See, this is the level that
no,
we're at.
I mean, in all seriousness, a great year for them.
Yeah.
You just, like I said, you never know from a competition standpoint what things will play out. And obviously, we had a weird situation where the student athlete had an injury that was unexpected. And when you're traveling 6 guys and playing 5, those 5, 99% of the time make it through the tournament, and we hit that 1%. Gabe came in and did a great job. Really, really proud for him, and excited that he got that experience as well, and really responded well in short order. But again, overall, you talked about recruiting. Golf recruiting is a lot like some other sports where you have your top upper echelon perennial players that just are sticks, and then you have kind of this wide casted net of people that you could say, okay, great body for the game of golf, I can fix the swing a little, I can coach and develop that. Or do you say, no, like Norman Zhang, never had a swing coach, never really had fundamental lessons, if you will, and just had this beautiful natural swing.
Loved
so
it.
when he came here, Casey was like, I don't want to touch your swing. I want to get you better
Just
up here.
go play.
Yeah, go play. And I want to get you better up here. And so I think he, again, talking to him the other day at breakfast, he just said, I'm going to really hit it hard recruiting this summer when you're looking at, 24s, 25s ultimately.
Yeah.
And that's a good problem to have when you have the whole roster coming back.
No doubt, no doubt. H.J. Cohn joining us. While we're on the golf subject, I got a lot of the things to cover for you, but I want to hit on the Jake. Always fun to get an update from you on the Jake.
Yeah, no, the Jake is exciting. Ironically, when we were back in Bath, Michigan, for our regional, I was able to
Bath.
back in Bath.
That was well done.
So we had a day. I had an afternoon after we completed our round, and was able to have some assistance from a local professor at Michigan State who happens to be a Duck alum.
Nice.
And gotten to know him on the course the previous day. And he's like, have you ever heard of or been to the Michigan State golf facility? I was like, no, I frankly didn't even know they had one. And he's like, well, I'm heavily involved in the women's golf program. Happy to get you. I was like, I'd love to. I got not a lot of prospecting or alumni in Bath, Michigan, as you can imagine. So I was like, great, I got time. So we went out there, and it was really, really cool to see and take tidbits from that of, we're into construction. Right. We're not going to change
the design,
anything structurally speaking. But little things, from operations and a traffic flow of student athletes wearing cleats potentially, and what does that look like. And so I got a chance to go out there, and then Justin Fisher, who I've mentioned before, kind of leading the charge on the Jake from
Shout out
our
Fish.
end. Don't give him too much, but taking that and bringing it back to him and just saying, hey, here's a bunch of photos, here's kind of what I saw, and so just if we can get one or two things out of it, it was worth the trip there. Trusses are up, roof, siding is going. We're really cranking along, and that team has done a great job. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's so cool. All right, we're gonna get a quick timeout. When we come back, this is the last time that H is gonna be on until we get into August and fall camp. So some football updates for you that we're gonna cover, and then gotta ask you about your favorite memories from the year so far. It's the end of the academic year. Get a chance to ask that question.
Yeah.
So noodle, will you?
Yeah, I will.
All right. More with H.J. Cohn when we come back on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, OnPoint proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. OnPoint Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCAA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Hey Duck fans, we're all about protecting our home turf here in Eugene. You should do the same for your home with Country Financial Insurance. Most home insurance doesn't account for inflation, but with Country Financial, yours can. If something happens to your home, make sure you can rebuild the same house in the same place. Call a local representative or 866-COUNTRY and get a solid defense for your home. Home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Casualty Insurance Company, or Country Preferred Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois. Property must meet age and condition requirements, which vary by state.
Duck Insider, your home for the latest news on Oregon athletics on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
It's time for today's STEM tip. Okay, you know recycling is important. No one wants plastic in the ocean. Here's a cool way to repurpose a plastic bottle. Build an awesome terrarium. Cut a large plastic bottle in half and fill the base with sand, pebbles, potting soil, and your favorite plant. I chose an African violet. Put the top of the bottle over your base and place it in the sun. Your plant will grow sealed in its own ecosystem. Fun, right? Learn more at She Can STEM. A message from the Ad Council.
This is your captain. We are going to be experiencing some slight turbulence. Please fasten your... Oh, hold on. Just got a video of my cat.
Imagine the pilot of an airplane was as confident as you are texting and driving. Seems kind of crazy when you put it like that.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Back in the Country Financial Studio with H.J. Cohn. It's Duck Insider presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. We were talking about golf. We were talking about favorite memories from the year. And now football season, some updates for us. You looking forward to football season already?
Yeah, very much so. We, the non-conference game time should be coming out here publicly, here, I think, any day is what the rumors have kind of been rumbling for a while. So that'll
Tune in to Duck Insider tomorrow.
There you go. Insider knowledge. Didn't.
Well done.
So
Good.
I would say once we get those, particularly around the Hawaii game, you got the Prefontaine Classic. And for those that don't know or follow track and field from a professional level, it's part of the Diamond League Series. And that is the professional, the NBA, whatever you want to call it, level of track and field. And we've always had, historically, we've been able to get the Prefontaine Classic middle, part of the professional circuit season or early on. Well, this is the end event and end meet. And so the stakes will be really
Big
high.
deal. Yeah.
The best athletes in the world from the track and field segment. And so that'll be around the Hawaii home game weekend. We certainly are hopeful that we can not overlap them per se on Saturday.
Right.
But I think we'll be able to get a really good opportunity to welcome fans from all over the country that are flying in for whatever reason for that game, whether it be football for the track meet or whatever. That there's just a lot that is going to be available to participate in Eugene. So ideally, we would have 2 options that day on Saturday: the pre and football, or vice versa, depending on game times, and then the pre on Sunday as well, and potentially something on Friday that we're hopefully be announcing here soon too. So a whole weekend.
Ooh, see, that was a tease. What he just did there. Did you see that? Something on Friday as well.
Friday evening. It'll be it should be a great weekend again. The idea here is you have a football game, right? And in football, college football has turned into a all-day pageantry, right?
Right.
From tailgating, the morning traditions, some people go on a run, some people like to go get their coffee, whatever it may be. Some people get up and watch game day, obviously. Right. So there's a lot of traditions on football, even though it's really a 3.5-hour actual game. And so what we want to do is to try and embrace that and provide a weekend opportunity instead of just a 3.5-hour window where some people are traveling from far away to get here.
Well, hopefully for a favorable game time to our TV partners out there, help the Ducks out, will you? Make it a good weekend. Don't make people have to choose between Hayward and Autzen. Let them go to both.
That's right.
That's what we want. Football single game tickets are on sale coming up.
Yeah, so that's also kind of coinciding with this. We, when the game times were going to be announced for the non-conference at least, we've always done kind of our availability and releasing of tickets with seasons, obviously first, and then mini plans shortly after that, and then single games. And single game tickets, if you don't have season tickets or you have season tickets but you got friends or family coming into a highlighted game, take Colorado or USC. Right. Those are 2 most popular games at this time from a ticket sales standpoint. When you bring those into play, those are going on sale June 7th and June 8th for Duck Athletic Fund members and season ticket holders. To the general public, it'll be about a week later. One benefit that we made a strategic decision on this year is that USC tickets, if you want a USC ticket, you either have to have season tickets, buy a mini plan, which USC is in one of our mini plans, or be a season ticket holder or DIF member and be able to access USC tickets. The general public, we will not, based on supply and demand and availability, we just don't think or anticipate we will have anything available for general public to buy that game on a single game level. So get in on the mini plan, get in on season tickets. We have season tickets starting at $249. So that alone, that game is trending very well, Colorado, and we have a great home schedule. So the next 2 weeks, there's obviously a lot of ticket information going out pertaining to those single games that we want to make sure fans are aware of.
More info will be on GoDucks.com. We'll talk about it on the show, but that's a great update. H.J. Cohen, a couple final thoughts for you. Favorite memory from the year? Just an easy question.
You mentioned that. I'll give 2. I thought about it a little. One's kind of a funny one. One's just a cool kind of full circle experience. So earlier this fall, we had a few donors come to women's basketball practice, and Coach Graves and his staff do a great job of, it's great they got to watch you practice, but there's something after practice about engaging with them and understanding what they do, not necessarily from a donation standpoint, but what do you do in the community, what's your job, what's your family like, and so forth, and vice versa. And I just look back and remember there was one of our student athletes was very, very, very quiet, a little nervous, a little shy during that process after practice of what's your, where are you from, what are you studying, what's your favorite restaurant in Eugene, just to kind of get to know you. And fast forward the page to kind of this spring, and recently saw an interview she did, and just so much more confident, outgoing, and to see that come full circle over the course of 6 to 9 months is like, wow, that's the power of, not only college and being a student here, but student athlete experience that we harp on all the time. And so to see that really come to the length and fulfillment that it did was really fulfilling for me personally, just being a fly on the wall to see it. And we have countless stories. But the funny one I was just telling you about, we were in Bath, Michigan in our regional. And the team typically, in a regional, you normally play in the morning and then you have the evening off. And you do a team dinner. It's a small group. It's 6 student athletes, 2 coaches, and in this case, I went to dinner with them. So 9 of us total. So we typically find kind of a sports pub-ish place to watch whatever game's on and just relax. And so we're there, and there was 2 gentlemen that came up that had probably been there for quite a bit
of time,
quite a long time before us, and their barbell might have suggested that, and they came up and said, "Are you guys the Ducks?" And I was like, "Well, good
yes,
job.
we are."
Really. Way to think ahead there with all our duck gear on. And he's like, "Oh my gosh, I followed you guys, and I've known your head coach, Casey Martin." And he's actually talking to Casey when he's saying this. And he's like, "So what do you do?" I was like, "I'm just a sport administrator here to support the guys." And he's like, "What do you do?" And points to Casey. He's like, "Well, I'm Casey." And I mean, you would have thought Disneyland. He just opened the gates. He was the first one in the gates. He was so excited and gave Casey like 3 hugs. And after like the third one, I was like, "All right, dude, we are just here to get our food and relax a little." But it was funny to see the reaction of our assistant coach, Jeff Quinney, who's also a very successful golfer on the professional level and collegiate level. And then our guys seeing it like, all right, we know Casey, his story and how successful and how much he's overcome, not only the golf circuit, but on the life level. And so for them to see it live of this random guy or 2 in Bath, Michigan, who were 2 sheets to the wind, just so excited to see Casey Martin after he realized he was talking to him for about a minute and then came to realize that it was him.
So good.
It was really funny.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it was cool.
That's a great one because it does illustrate like the level of fame, really, that Casey has. And I'm sure Casey hated that. Yeah,
well, again, after hug 3, I was like, all right, let's do the separation. I was like, the boxing ring guy before the boxer at the weight, the scale, whatever you call it, the weigh-in, like, all right, don't get too close because gosh, this guy was all over him. Like, dude, take it easy. But it was all out of love, and for our guys to see it, we kind of got a kick out of it and had some laughs of it.
That's awesome. H.J. Cohn, Senior Associate Athletic Director with us. Hey, thanks for always coming on, buddy.
Oh, I love it. You know that, and I truly mean that. Even after the air goes off, I do really enjoy this, and I'll be bummed to take the summer off. So
that's all right. You got summer plans, some golf events, hopefully some vacation, some downtime. And then we'll be back talking to you again in August. All right.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's gonna be here quick and exciting. And before we get there, let's have a good, strong finish to our spring sports and baseball. Certainly, all of us pulling, track and field pulling, and keeping eyes on them.
Love it. H.J. Cohn joining us, kind enough to take some time out of the schedule. When we come back, some updates on what's to come on the show tomorrow. That's what happens when you don't have a show on Memorial Day. There's 2 days worth of things to cover. So Ryan's got a lot to talk about. We'll tell you about that next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, we're more than just an award-winning golf course and practice facility. Our events team offers all-inclusive event pricing that allows us to take care of all the details while you enjoy your event. Our indoor and outdoor venues offer you a wide variety of fully staffed options that put the focus on you. From weddings to business and social events, at Shadow Hills Country Club Events Center, you get the benefits of a resort atmosphere and amenities in a peaceful country setting, just minutes from downtown Eugene. Call for a tour today or visit shadowhillsevents.com.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, OnPoint proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. OnPoint Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCAA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
This is Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Here's a fun fact for you. The average chameleon can point their eyes in 2 different directions. On the other hand, the average human can't. So unless you're a chameleon, there's absolutely no way you can focus on texting and driving at the same time. So don't do it, unless you're a chameleon.
Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Guys, it's me, Isabella Gomez, filling in for Smokey Bear because he's got more to say than just...
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Like, if you're outside enjoying a barbecue, don't let a hamburger distract you from fire safety. Make sure you aren't dumping your hot coals or ashes onto the ground because that could start a wildfire. So take wildfire prevention seriously and let's save the world one day at a time. Juntos con Smokey Bear, podemos hacerlo. Go to smokeybear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Joey Mack with you in the Country Financial Studio. My thanks again to H.J. Cohn for joining us. So we heard a lot of baseball. We'll have some more baseball on the program for you tomorrow. Also, a deep dive on Oregon softball. On Thursday, the Ducks struck out first Thursday, but going up, or struck first, I should say, going up 1-0 on Thursday. But then Oklahoma State was able to get them 8-1. And then on Friday, the season came to a close. More details on softball season as we review the season. Coach Lombardi's actually on the All-American committee. We were going to have our regular chat with her this week, but she's out of town. So next week, we'll have our full kind of season in review segment with Coach Lombardi. But some of the thoughts after that game by the guy who called it on the show yesterday, Ryan Milano, will have that for you. Track and field in the West prelims. We mentioned this earlier that the Ducks are now sending a number of qualifiers to Austin for the NCAA championship. The number 3 women of Oregon collected 9 additional qualifiers on Saturday, coupled with a few more. So from earlier in the West prelims, it's now 14 total that the Ducks will send to the national meet on the women's side. The men of Oregon, 4 NCAA qualifiers on Friday, and they will send a total of 5 after the decathlon wrapped up earlier. They will send a total of 5 to the NCAA championships. June 7th through 10th in Austin, Texas. Still just wild to me that the national championships in track and field are not in Eugene, Oregon every year. I don't understand it. Men's golf in the national championships, one thing that we did not mention that we just were talking about during the break, a hole-in-one. See, HJ's smiling on his way out right now. You don't see an ace of a hole very often, right? But that's what Grayson Leach did. That was a cool moment to see that for men's golf. Also, some women's golf news. Derek Radley announced that Coach Monica Vaughn will be moving to the volunteer assistant role. She's moving on in her career to an opportunity in Portland, also becoming a mother. So she will be the volunteer assistant for the Ducks next year. Search underway for the next assistant coach for Derek Radley's team. And then the Ducks also brought in Tiffany Huang, the number 36 world amateur golf ranked player, as a signee. Pretty darn cool. Tomorrow, a lot more to cover. I'll be in Nashville. See ya.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.